When you're not talking about Kansas as the team to beat out of the Big 12, you know it is a Shark Tank. So,
greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Eye Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today on this Throwdown Thursday edition, it's the same. The academic and athletic consultant, one of our favorites from the Odd Coaches for the CKSA Project, George Ocker. George, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, Robert. He's getting a regular one now. I'm worried.
And our favorite administrator is here 1 month before Selection Sunday. Robert Abney. Robert, how are you, sir?
He has found something that he likes, and he might actually stick with it, right? I'm living the dream, man. Every day, 1 month to Selection Sunday. Things are getting tight. Let's go.
All right. So in segment 1, we will talk about the men's game. In segment 2, we'll talk about the women's game. And in segment 3, as always, there are some administrative and fun issues in college football to discuss. I hate the offseason. That will be the first time you hear that. But first, men's rankings, net rankings, that is. Houston is 1, Purdue is 2, Arizona's 3, UConn is 4 in the net. Alabama's 5, Auburn is 6, Tennessee is 7, Iowa State is 8, BYU is 9. They let me down strictly for entertainment purposes only. And Marquette is 10. Streaks of note: UConn, South Florida, Yale, Colgate, and St. Mary's are all on 10-game winning streaks, or at least 10-game winning streaks. And folks, we do have the first official rankings out. Purdue, UConn, Houston, and Arizona lead the way as number 1 seeds as of today. Tennessee, UNC, Marquette, Kansas are the number 2 seeds. Baylor, Iowa State, Alabama, and Duke are the number 3 seeds. San Diego State, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Auburn are the number 4 seeds. Robert, what has caught your eye 1 month out of Selection Sunday in men's basketball?
Well, several things. Number 1 is if I had to pick a favorite now for the tournament, I would take UConn. I mean, UConn is rounding into form. They are rounding into tournament form. We are taping on a Sunday. They beat Marquette by about 100 yesterday.
Clean.
Yes. Houston beat Texas by about 100 yesterday. So Houston looks pretty good. I think Purdue plays today. And other than that, everybody's beating everybody. You see it. You just said Auburn is number 6 in the net. Well, Auburn got beat by Kentucky last night. Arizona's number 3 in the net. Arizona beat Arizona State by a lot.
About 100.
So BYU lost yesterday. I mean, everybody's beating everybody, but I think UConn is definitely separating. Definitely. So that's what has caught my eye so far.
All right, George, what has caught your eye, especially with that little glimpse into seeding? What are you thinking about?
I'm going to follow right behind Robert. Danny Hurley can coach his ass off. All right. And we might not have, I don't know if we really expected him to be this good of a coach, but a son of a coach, he had background there, but yes, he can coach his ass off. Part 2 is it's a Shark Tank right now in the Big 12. And it's funny to me. It's actually fun watching because I'm so used to I live in ACC country, and the Shark Tank was always the ACC. The Shark Tank now is in out west, and the Big 12 is a Shark Tank. They just keep feeding on each other. Houston is holding their own because it's a Shark Tank when Kansas is not the first name you talk about with the Big 12. And we haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I think what
Yeah.
was it, like 20 straight years that they
Yes.
won the thing,
Yeah.
something
So
ridiculous like that.
something crazy. So when you're not talking about Kansas as the team to beat out of the Big 12, you know it is a Shark Tank. So
Well, for me, fellas, before we get to the story of the week, I'm just going to give our fans some teams to root for this coming month. Root for Indiana State to win their conference because they more likely or not will steal somebody's bid. St. Mary's, just let them run through the WCC and just get the tournament bid. Let's hope Florida Atlantic wins. Let's hope Dayton wins. And if you're a fan of the A10, you just need Dayton to make sure you get in. UVA, they played possibly one of the worst games you could watch, but they're rounding into form too. And the ACC needs somebody other than Duke and Carolina to win the tournament because they might only get 5 bids, and that's real. And Colorado State, check them out. Okay. But as for the story of the week, Ohio State fired Chris Holtmann, ending his tenure just shy of 7 seasons in Columbus, Ohio. The school announced his firing last week, and he had 4 years remaining on his contract, which ran through 27-28. And he's going to receive a buyout, Robert, of $12.8 million. New athletic director Ross Bork is coming in. Gene Smith is leaving. And yeah, new athletic director means new thoughts, new ideas. So, Robert, I want you to put your admin hat on. Why do you make this move now instead of just waiting for the season to play out? What are your thoughts on Ohio State going in a different direction?
Well, I think anymore you have to get in front of the portal. I think their plan is going to be the day the season is over for them, they want to have somebody in place so that when the portal opens, they're ready to go. I think that is going to enter not only into Ohio State's thinking, obviously, but I think that's going to be on everybody's mind when they start making coaching changes now. We got to have somebody ready to go when the portal opens so that we can go get guys and also so we can keep the guys we have who we want to keep. I think that's going to be I think that's going to be really important going forward because that's the world we live in right now.
George, it's Ohio State. Why are they bad at anything? They have every conceivable resource and they're struggling. Tell me your thoughts on them making a move right now.
I'm with Robert. I think it's since the times have changed on how you do things, and you can reinvent yourself in one season, depending on how things go and how aggressively you attack the portal. You got to get somebody in place then. I mean, just because Ohio State has, and we've seen this across the board, just because you have a good program, I mean, just because you have what the makings of what should be a good program and you're good in football does not mean basketball follows suit or any of your other sports. So they've never been traditionally a powerhouse in basketball. They've always been, competitive. They've here or there, they've had some good teams. But I think
Oh man, they made it to the Final Four back in the 60s, man.
With Odin?
I know they made it to that. I said here and there. They never hoisted a banner. Easy, guys. Easy. It's not like we're calling them Duke. Okay, so and I think that's something, and I think that's the eternal search that every AD would love. And I know when I was AD, I wanted to dedicate as much time to basketball as I did football and when in every other sport. So we looked like we were competitive across the board. And I think that's what they're doing. They're the past couple of years, Ohio State hasn't been, I only think they didn't make the tournament last year. So it's one of those situations where they got to get some. They're trying to make a move, get somebody on board to see make it a place, a destination. That's what they're trying to do right now.
All right. So with that, fans, when we get back, We'll bring up the women's game, and we also have the window into the women's seating. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Hot Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, let's hit to the women's net rankings. South Carolina is number 1 and has stayed there. Stanford's 2, UConn's 3, Texas is 4, Iowa's 5, Utah is 6, UCLA is 7, Ohio State, they can win in something, is 8, NC State is 9, and LSU is 10. And unlike the men's game, a lot of 10-plus game winning streaks on the women's side. South Carolina, Ohio State, Florida Gulf Coast, St. Joe's, Creighton, Middle Tennessee, Princeton, Fairfield, Chattanooga, Jackson State, South Dakota State. Keep an eye on South Dakota State and Gonzaga. All have 10-game winning streaks or more. Undefeated South Carolina is the number 1 in the pre-top 16 reveal. Stanford is on the 1 line. So South Carolina, Stanford, Ohio State, and Colorado are 1 seeds a month out. Iowa, NC State, UCLA, and Texas are 2 seeds. USC, hey, Will, she's there. Virginia Tech, Oregon State, and UConn are 3 seeds. UConn's a 3 seed. Mm-hmm. And Kansas State, Indiana, LSU, and Louisville are on the 4 line. Robert, what's caught your eye with the women's game right now, sir? 1 month away from Selection Sunday.
Well, you just said Colorado has a 1 seed.
1 seed.
Colorado's not in the top 10 in the net. I don't know what their net is, but that's definitely interesting because you would think that they would be in the top 10 at least. You were mentioned surprise at Oregon State. Oregon State pulled one out against UCLA last night, I believe.
Was that buzzer?
Yeah. Hit a 3 at the buzzer. Ohio State is ahead of Iowa in the Big Ten right now. So that's not really a surprise to me. I would have thought maybe that Utah would have snuck in there somewhere on the top 4, but the Pac-12 is competitive. So a lot of interesting stuff there, but South Carolina.
It still comes back. It still comes back to South Carolina. George, again, we've got our window into how the selection committee is looking. What caught your eye with the women's game with that?
All I can say, what I'm saying about the women's game is chalk right now. It's I saw the one interesting story with me is that Colorado, when we got them listed as a 1 seed coming in, and it's to me personally, and anybody else can say whatever they want to say, Colorado is pure Deion effect, because as soon as Deion comes, his daughter joins the team, and now they got players out the woodwork, and now they're running, they're playing real well out there. But what are you going to do with South Carolina and the rest of it's chalk across the league? I think the real interesting thing that we all had a gasp at was that UConn is at a 3 seed. It shows that paradigm shift of where, okay, UConn was so dominant, great player. Now you got not every great player is trying to going to UConn and they start going somewhere else. Now it looks like they're all headed down to damn South Carolina. So we'll see. We'll see how it happens. We'll see if somebody gets lucky like last year and Caitlin has a huge game or somebody does something extra special against South Carolina to beat them and knock them out and allow LSU or somebody to win a national championship. Because I tell you, on a regular day, if they come in with their for most nights their B+ game, South Carolina is a unmovable force right now.
All right. So the story of the week: UConn women's basketball star Paige Beckers announced that she is returning for the 2024-2025 season, spurning the WNBA, where she was projected to be a lottery pick. She made the announcement in front of a packed house at Gambrills Pavilion. Part of the reason why I think this is editorial that she wants to stay is she hadn't had a chance to play with AZ. And once they get a chance to play, they think they can do some great things. And I also think she's making more money now than she would in the WNBA. But again, this is my editorial comment. Robert, when you heard that, do you agree with me, or is this one of those things where I just enjoy the college experience, blah, blah, blah? Tell me what you think, sir.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. She wants to play with AZ Fudd, and because that's her buddy. They, and they haven't had a chance to really play together because one or the other or both of them have been hurt. And she's making as much or more money at UConn than she would make being a lottery pick for the WNBA. And there's no reason for her to go before she has to. Just so you know, Caitlin Clark has another year of eligibility as well. Just saying.
George, what do you think about Paige Buckets coming back for one more college year?
Ditto on what everybody else said. I mean, look, man, when you're making more money, playing less games, and can
traveling
still be
better too, I'm
traveling,
sure.
but yes. Why leave? I mean, your buddy is there, still there. I mean, why leave? It's going to be rare to see a popular female player leave college basketball early nowadays with the money that they're able to access and the way the girls' college game is, which I think is more popular than the WNBA. And in retrospect, yeah, there's no reason to go. There's no reason to go early. It's like you'd have to drag me out of there kicking and screaming.
Well, George Roberts snuck that in.
Think
Go
about
ahead,
this. Buddy. Think about this. Caitlin Clark, if she stays another year, Caitlin Clark could score 5,000 points in college.
Yes.
So, George, because Robert snuck it in, how would you advise Caitlin? Because again, she's already got a State Farm deal. She is selling out everything. Our good buddy traveled back from retirement to see Caitlin Clark play at the University of Maryland. That's the power of Caitlin Clark. So the WNBA is only going to pay you $290 maybe if she gets that deal, and I don't even know if she qualifies for that deal. Do you come back? What would you do if you're advising Caitlin, George?
At this point, if it stands right now where we're looking, Caitlin's staying. I mean, get your senior year in and go ahead. The only one we got to worry about is the Pete Maravich record. Or you come back, go ahead, take a shot, see what you can do. Because, like you said, she's in college. She's already got a State Farm deal. She's got
she's not hungry.
She's not hungry.
Living in Iowa is not that bad.
No, whatsoever. And plus, what's she paying for? She's not paying for anything. She's saying on camp. She's bringing more money into the school than anybody else, especially, and you can't even fight it because after you look at the way that football team plays on the field, she's bringing more money than them. So, yeah, why?
Robert and I
What?
laughing too much on that Iowa football joke.
Yeah,
All right. So with that,
boring.
I don't want to detract and get my boy going. So when we get back in segment 3, we're going to touch base with a cornucopia of college football issues. We'll be right back on the Coaches Podcast. Iowa football.
Why should student athletes use the CKA Save Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA Save Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. We're going to talk about all kinds of issues in college football, and I'm going to start with George. George, 5 plus 7 equals money. The college football playoffs Board of Managers is expected to vote this coming week on a model that will include the 5 highest ranked conference champions and the next 7 highest ranked teams in the 12-team playoff that is finally coming in college football. And don't forget the Big Ten and the SEC are now thought partners. So, George, what do you think? Will the 5 plus 7 model finally be approved and the coffers of money are coming in? What are your thoughts on 5 plus 7, sir?
It's going to be, it's going to go. And my thoughts on it is it's inevitable. SEC is licking their chops. They're excited as hell about the whole situation. About SEC was probably the first ones on board talking about, let's go to 12. Because we knew we were going to get more than half of them. And then it's funny that they were like, the top 5 power. What 5 conferences are we referring to? Because the 5th one's gone. The one out west is dissipated.
Finally, the group of 5 will finally have one team in every year, the highest ranked group of 5.
Yeah.
So they'll finally be able to say, yes, we're in.
So Florida, University of Central Florida, that team will get in, or Tulane or somebody. Tulane or somebody will get in. But
Madison.
Or JMU, because they're right there too. But yeah, man, it is. Because I liked it because we won't have the crap we had this year with Florida State, and we'll get to see everybody. And the SEC is going to love it because they're going to have as many teams as possible in there. So I think it's going to be it's the movement. I think one thing though, honestly, I see more and more, as this realignment starts and all this other stuff. The NCAA better be on the lookout, because that super conference because they don't need them right now. The SEC does not need them right now. So that super conference is coming. It looks like it's coming down the road. So that the only person that's really going to be worried about this is really going to be the NCAA.
All right, Robert, 5 plus 7 equals money. What are you thinking, sir?
Okay, so we're really talking about 3 SEC schools.
4.
Okay, hang on. 3 SEC schools, 3 Big 12 schools, the other 3 conference champions, and then you got 3 more. So we're going to go with maybe 1 ACC or Big 12 school, and then another Big 12 and another Big 10 and another SEC. So you're talking about 4 SEC, 4 Big 12. The other 3 conference champions and 1 extra. That's what you're talking about. Which works great for the Big 10 and the SEC, right? For everybody else, maybe not so much. I don't know. But hey, this is where we're going. This
Oh
is where we're
man.
going.
Okay.
I tell you, if you get lucky, if you're ACC school or a Big 12 school, you get lucky and you beat one of those SEC schools early, in one of those matchup games, and you have a relatively good record, you stay relevant, you can get to sneak in as one of the extras. That's what's going to happen. So
Yep.
it is
All right. So, Robert, I'm going to stay with you. Pac 12 makes a move. The Pac 12 and George Kliavkoff have mutually agreed to part. If you recall, Robert, when we spoke about this when he got hired, because the show was on the air, Kliavkoff came to the Pac 12 from MGM Resorts International, where he was the president of entertainment and sports. And he was hired in May of 2021 to replace Larry Scott. And shockingly, the head of MGM Internationals didn't do well as a college football conference commissioner. One, are you surprised that it didn't work? And two, any thoughts on where the Pac-2 move forward? Well, would you want that job?
No, I don't want that job because it's not going to exist. Number two is they probably waited 18 months or so too long. Number three, this is a perfect example of what could possibly go wrong, actually going wrong. And number four, okay, so he's leaving the Pac-12, Pac-2, whatever they are. But what is he leaving? There's nothing there. There's nothing there. So I don't know what this is going to become. I don't know if they're going to find somebody and pull in some Mountain West schools and Gonzaga and whatever. And
hey, I'll take the job.
Create a new Pac-12. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, that was never going to end well, and so it does not.
Okay. George, I'm going to go to you for this one. Another one. There's another FBS head coach who's leaving the head coaching position for a coordinator's position, as Georgia State's Sean Elliott has agreed to return to South Carolina as the tight ends coach and the run coordinator. We have spoken the last few weeks on this as Elliott becomes the fourth head coach this offseason to leave for a non-head coaching job at a power school, joining Chip Kelly, South Alabama's Kane Womack, Buffalo's Maurice Linguist, as well as Boston College Jeff Hafley. George, what do you think about this latest move to become just a member of the staff?
Can we say trend? Because you're going to see more. You're going to see more head coaches probably doing that. Head coaches that like to coach. You're going to see more of that happen. Because what's going to start happening? Your smaller D1s are going to be back in the day. The Kansas City Royals used to joke and say the Kansas City Royals were the feeder program for the New York Yankees. Yeah. All right. So you're going to now have these smaller D1 schools become feeders for the D1 programs, because with the portal, you're going to have to do something to keep the kids there, because the kids are just, a lot of kids are going to go there to just get their audition tape in so they can go play for the Alabamas and the whatever's of the world. So the portal has changed so much, and I don't think there are a lot of coaches that just want to coach and don't have the stomach to be the Ringling Brothers and Brawling Barely guy out front selling, hey, come to Georgia State and we got this for you. Because their pot is not as deep as their pot isn't as deep as Boston College's. So it's like, there's going to be a lot of guys that just love coaching that aren't going to have the stomach to do all the other pieces that go along with it, because it's not just about coaching anymore. And as we continue to go, I can already see, and you start seeing more and more more and more of the NIL money going up in the transfer portal. The smaller schools will start becoming audition spots. It's almost like they're going to be a minor league, where kids that come in, they're going to go there, be there for a year or two, show that they can do their thing, and then they're going to be right out headed looking for the honeypot. So it's how it is.
All right. So, Robert, I'm coming to you as my administrator. I hate the offseason. LSU freshman tailback Trey Holly turned himself in to the Union Parish Sheriff's Police Office last week on charges of attempted second-degree murder. That's one of the 3 felony charges he's facing tied to a shooting in Farmerville, Louisiana. He is also facing charges of aggravated criminal damage. What are we doing, Robert? What are we doing? Why can't we just go to class, go to workouts? How are you handling this situation? Are you holding a spot for him, or what are we doing, Robert?
I understand the indefinite suspension because, if he's wrongly accused, you want to say that you're giving the kid an opportunity to come back. That being said, yeah, what are we doing? I mean, I don't know. And this is kind of a symptom of just kind of where we are as a society. I mean, I don't know what you do with this, other than spend a lot of time building a culture around your team where you talk about, hey, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. Here's how we operate. Here's how we, here's what we don't tolerate here. And it's hard to do that in this day and age with the portal and with coaches moving all over the place because it takes time to build a culture. And, this is a symptom of that, of the age that we're in, this transitory nature that everybody has. Because I'm not going to say that somebody could have talked him out of that. But I think if you're in a better environment, those types of things are minimized at least. And I may be a little bit too idealistic, I'll admit that. But I think that if you have a culture in place in your program, that kind of stuff happens much less frequently than what we currently see.
Yeah. Very saddened by that. But again, you hear me say on the show often, I hate the off season because you don't have the structures in place and it's just hard.
But
George, go ahead, George.
Keith, I will say that, and this is going to be one symptom of what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that establishing your culture at your school, you're going to have to establish a situation where you keep those kids on campus at home as much as possible, especially understanding each of your kids. You get them down, and I know you go back, and Jimmy Johnson would talk about understanding where these kids come from, having an understanding of where these kids are coming from and where they're coming out of, because the only thing that's going to save or going to enhance the program with this transient situation we got is your personal relationships you build with your players. And in doing that, you're going to have to give them an alternative. So you're going to have some kind of structure in the off season to keep them engaged and around. And it's the only way. It's going to be hard. It's going to be the only way to keep them there. It's going to be the only way to keep them.
Yeah, and we're talking about taking classes, and they don't want to go to class.
Right. We're going to have to do something else there.
George, I'm going to stay with you. EA Sports is in the game. Fans, George and I grew up playing EA Sports. I don't know what your video game lineage is, Robert, but we're mad at Ed O'Bannon for all the wrong reasons because he messed up the video game. But EA Sports is bringing back College Football 25. George, what are your thoughts on the game that we all grew up playing coming back, man?
Well, I'm mad at Ed O'Bannon because it came out. All the stuff he started came out after I graduated from college, because there's some money that I left on the table. So anyway, but I'm glad to see it coming back. I would love to know what the NIL deal is for the kids that are going to be in this game.
It's 50 cents and sign this away.
Oh my God, because Caleb Williams, Jalen Daniels, all they're going to be on the cover, and they're going to have to be part of the marketing program. So it's great for the kids. I'm glad. You damn right. Money, Robert. It's great for the kids. I'm glad they're getting paid. I'm glad to see it coming. I'm glad to see it coming back and being a big thing. And again, comes another bullet at NCAA. Another bullet. They're not gonna make it. They're not gonna make it, brother.
Robert, were you a video game player of EA Sports? Is in the game?
I have to admit, I have never owned a video game system in my entire life. Never. Not the Atari, not the Nintendo, nothing.
Get all kinds of
I have played NCAA football 14. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was fun. Am I going to run out and buy video games? No, but you know what? I will say this: with the release of NCAA football 2025, somebody is getting paid. I will say that.
All right. So to close, fans, and this is a melancholy close, Hall of Fame college basketball coach Charles G. Lefty Driesell, who won close to 800 games in his career, 4 different schools with over 100 wins, passed away. His son Chuck is a friend of mine. I actually saw Chuck last week. He coaches at the Murray School, where my niece is a senior. I grew up in Hyattsville. Went to Louisdale for life. We used to walk to the University of Maryland. We used to play with the University of Maryland's players on the playground like it was nothing. Lefty was the first basketball camp I went to. He was an icon to us. And, he passed away. And I just wanted to send my heartfelt condolences to Chuck and the rest of the Driesell family. George, you're from the area. Any thoughts on the left-hander? Because Cole was the goal, my friend.
Man, I remember those days, and I got lucky because my sister was in school there at that time. During when they were good, the bias eras. I got to see a lot of those games. Oh man, it was a great time. And Lefty was our leader, man. He was our leader because our area was always broken down. Either you were a lefty dude or you were a John Thompson dude. And those were 2 huge icons. So part of our childhood is gone with losing Lefty. It was a great era in Maryland basketball. So that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, Robert Cole Fieldhouse, bless his heart, was the goal for so many high school student athletes to get to Cole, to play for a state championship. And when I say, Robert, we actually played with Maryland players. I remember how kind Albert King and Buck Williams was to a little kid like me. Lynn Bias, I will try not to cry, was the first famous person I actually knew. Hey, Frosty's on TV.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So when he passed away in 86, it was actually the first time I ever cussed at my parents, because when they told me that he passed, I said, "You're a liar." And they actually let it go because of how much they knew how much I felt about him and the fallout and all of that. So, Robert, I don't know if you have any memories of the left-hander.
Wrong part of the country, man. Wrong part of the
country.
and Robert, that was literally our saying in high school. We're going to Cole.
Cole is how many T-shirts, George? We got Cole is the goal on the back.
And we got lucky enough to go my junior year.
All right. So yes, and I've taken many a whoopings at Cole 95, 96. Them Baltimore teams play a little different than we did, but I'm gonna let that go. And on behalf of our Cavalcade Stars, Southwestern just scored another 3. I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and watching the iCoaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete, academic, and athletic support. From assessing student athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student athlete academic progress, to improving student athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA SAVE project provides wraparound services for student athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.